Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We continue our conversation with Minister Louis Zabaneh. And, you know, speaking of being on the road, how was the traffic for you when you came in this morning, Dr. Zab?
Well, I was here last night, so I didn't have to drive the roads, but
Okay.
I drive every day on the road. Like, for example, now heading to Belmopan for the third day of the budget.
Yeah.
And it's always a defensive driving. You have to be thinking that around this curve, someone will be overtaking.
Yeah.
So don't assume that on a curve, everything will be fine.
That people are following the
Yeah,
rules.
no, and you at night especially, you have all kinds of vehicles with different lights or no lights at all. It's just not the kind of setting that we should be having right now.
Well, speaking of traffic, we do have a traffic update for you guys here in Belize City, and let's get a quick look at where we are giving you that update from. This looks like the roundabout.
Right up here.
This is actually right around us, around Courts on the highway. It looks pretty smooth if you ask me. I know that there are two routes that you can
Belize
take if you're
Mills,
coming into Belize City, but it looks generally smooth going into the city and leaving as well. So that looks good for you guys. I know it's still relatively early. We're approaching 7:30. And I know that it might be getting busier as we get closer and closer to 8 a.m., which of course is the clocking hour for most of you. But continuing the conversation, Dr. Zabaneh, one of the more recent, I think, updates that came out of the Transport Department was a bit of a scandal where monies were seen to be stolen in certain parts of the department. I know since then there has been some eyes being looked upon the former minister who was within the transport ministry. But just to give our viewers a general overview of what was discovered, let's go back to that moment.
Sure. So the first day that I got there, I had a meeting with all of the senior leadership, and I asked them, what are the big concerns? What are the things that are happening? That was one of them that came up, where in the Spanish Lookout office there was an investigation that the former minister had already started, where the auditors, the internal auditor that we have, had uncovered a scheme where monies were being not being reported, even though they were collected. And so I asked them to move it into the hands of the DPP so that we could get help. But I want to make it very clear that the former minister, Minister Radwell Ferguson, had already started that process. So I think it was a little unfair to be pointing fingers at him. As he correctly said, he can only do so much. And I'm confident that there's no reason for him to have been, on the contrary, that he was started the investigation. I believe we should give him credit for that. So that is ongoing. That's just one among many things. We have the collection of income for bathroom use across the terminals. Again, there we saw trends that dipped below what we believe should be the amount of income. But you could imagine how difficult that would be using rudimentary systems to keep track. How many people use the bathroom today?
Yeah.
And you know, exactly are you going to account for each dollar or $1.50 per use?
It's easy to manipulate that.
Easy to manipulate.
Manually logging.
Correct, and not logging,
Yeah.
right? So these systems are archaic, and we have to make sure that we have proper accountability, and that the people at all levels know what their roles are. So when we go in, and I've asked, well, what has happened at this terminal or that terminal? Well, this one said he wasn't there that day, and pointing fingers on the other one, and all these things. So a lot of managerial structures need to be reformed, remodeled, so that people know their roles and know where they are accountable for certain particular things. Their TORs are clear, These things have to be done because it has been a very loose system.
Yeah.
Everybody, they're all friends and nobody's pointing fingers on anybody, or on the contrary, they're protecting each other. And it's difficult then to get the results you want.
We've spoken about the buses on the road, but there is equal concern being placed on the actual facilities, terminals, access to licenses and what have you. And all of this falls within the ambit of your ministry. How do you feel when the public is saying, look, as a commuter and I go to Novella's terminal, it's in a very dilapidated state.
Yes.
And I'm paying my just share to get on a bus and what have you. How do you feel when a motorist goes to the transport department to apply for a license or to get the plates and what have you, and they can't get the satisfaction from the service that they're seeking?
Yeah. No, it's really shameful, right, that we are, for something as simple as that to not be done. It's not rocket science, right? Have license plates in an inventory. You have your inventory system, and you know when it's being depleted, that at a certain point you reorder.
Even driver's license.
Very, very basic things,
I still have
right?
my receipt.
So that is why I am appealing to the public, and I've been doing this ever since, that go to your area reps, my own colleagues, let them know how dissatisfied you are. We as ministers and area reps, we are in our AC vehicles driving up and down. We're not catching the bus. Although, to be honest, I would love to be able to just jump on the bus and go to work to Belmopan and come back on the bus. But we don't have to do it. But you, the public who are out there, you are the ones taking the lick. So I'm asking, talk to your area rep, talk to the different ministers so that they know. And of course, my colleagues are aware. And why is this important? Because then the message comes from those who are most important in this system. We had footage recently of the CEO going to visit the terminal here in Belize City.
Yeah.
We visited other terminals. Some of the bathrooms don't have toilet seats. This is just uncivilized a setting for our people. So we need more public outcry, not less. I want more people to be calling into talk shows and writing to their ministers or to their area reps to say, let us change this once and for all. Very small incremental changes will not cut it. So this national company envisages a combination of government assets, which are the terminals, and all the operators in one company, so that then we can upgrade. Belize City needs a brand new terminal. This is the largest municipality in the country, where most of the traffic comes through. We have a piece of land identified on Chetamal Boulevard area. Punta Gorda needs a terminal, there's none there. Orange Walk needs a terminal. Benke needs a new terminal too. The one that's there is really dilapidated, and all the other terminals need upgrading across the country.
So
Minister, forgive me though, perhaps for my ignorance, but you're essentially saying to amplify our voices and speak to our area reps regarding the concerns that we have about the transportation industry. But aren't you the leader of the industry? Aren't you the leader of the department?
Yes, but
aren't you the person that can provide these solutions?
Sure, but I am one voice in the sense that yes, and the voice within cabinet, etc. Well taken, but if it is that we're being very quiet about the licking that we're taking, right? And I go in cabinet and I make a remark. Everybody else is I'm not hearing what you're hearing. Well, let all of us there hear it, right? So that I get, and I'm sure that my colleagues will give full support, and they're already, the Prime Minister gave 2 phases of this plan that we have already approved in Cabinet. The first phase, which is the consultations we're doing. The next phase, which will be June and July, to do the valuation of all the operators and the terminals to determine an opening balance sheet, if you will. That has been approved. The next stage after that is to prepare the implementation plan of exactly what we're going to be doing with a start date of January 1st. So when we do that as a nation, what it does is it brings all of us together and focus on a problem that we're saying enough is enough. We must solve it now, because otherwise we all have other priorities and other things will come and become the attention of government. So if we're to solve this now, let us all come together as a nation. Let us make one effort now. Give the signal to the operators, listen, we need far better service, far better quality. And on our end, we give them the comfort that you can remain as owners of this new business that we're having. You see, allow me to say this. One of the criticisms was this is Novella 2.0, right?
That is a standing criticism.
Yes, so fine. But what happened there, people need to be reminded, is that the operators across the country started to buy each other out privately. Government was not involved in that as we are now. And they ended up with one entity, Novello. The idea was that they would have been able to continue, but what happened is that the permits were given to other companies that started to undermine that national company then at that point. And so it just deteriorated to the point now that we have 31 operators. Now, what we're going to be having in this plan is one national company that gets legislative protection, right? Just like you can't go and start to set up another water supply company, right? Or another electrical supply company and start to hook up to people, because there's protection there, as there should be. In this case, you're talking about a public good that people need across the country, so it's justified to have a monopoly for them.
I want to include some questions coming in from our viewers. We did give them the opportunity to ask that. One of the question poses, what about technology to control the speed of the buses and also GPS to know exactly where they are so a schedule can be maintained?
Yes, and I've mentioned this in other talk shows. What we will be having then, once the company is in place, is a control room, just like you have at the Philip Goldson International Airport. And you see this for other bus companies in other jurisdictions, as you'd say. So in there you have screens, and you can see a bus leaving Corozal at 6 in the morning, and you can track it at 6:45 where it is. By color code, you can know if it's speeding or if it's behind time. Then cameras, just like how you have cameras at your house, and then when you're traveling, you can check on your phone to make sure that everything is in order in your yard. The same way you have cameras in the buses, and in the control tower, you can see exactly what's going on inside the bus. So these are technologies that are not like new. They've been there for the past 10, 20 years. So technology will be brought to bear on a national company, but you can't expect 31 separate operators to put that in place when their margins are thin or they're even experiencing losses. This cannot be done unless we have a proper organization, one company with a proper management team and a proper board that will function in a modern way.
Truth of the matter is that your predecessor in the Ministry of Transport was trying at some point to bring everybody together under one fold by upgrading their buses, and the operators had a tough time being able to get to that point, because they were saying, look, we need financing. The banks or the lending institutions won't even look in our direction because we have nothing to say. Well, there is longevity in terms of the permits and what have you. So you can't imagine that they would have the resources and other wherewithal to invest into these technologies.
Correct. And if the market remains with 31 operators and all those permits out there, it will still be difficult for them to get financing. The banks will look at the market. The banks will make rational decisions on how to invest their depositors' funds. So while it sounds like a good idea to keep the small man in business. We have to think about the true small man and woman who are the commuters.
Yes.
They're the ones. We're talking 10,000 of them per day compared to 31 operators. We, as a nation, need to make a decision. And this is a fair and even could be a potentially profitable proposal to the operators. They are not in a losing proposition here. They have the opportunity to, at day one, get into a national company that will have legal protection that will grow over time. Their investment has good prospects going forward, right? It's a PPP with the government of Belize. Because it's with the government of Belize, you can get very concessionary funds for brand new equipment, etc. The terminals now become included in this company now that you're a part of. For me, it is a clear win-win-win. Win for the operators, win for the government, and most importantly, a win for the commuters. That's what we need to focus on, right?
We have more questions coming in from viewers. When will we implement and respect bus stops on the highways? Belizeans need to also respect bus stops. That should be the only stops on the highways for buses.
I would hope that when we have a national company that we can instruct our bus operators, because it's one company, that this is where you're going to stop in this village and this is where you're going to stop there. If we have 31 operators, it is a chaotic system that we're running right now.
Yeah.
Imagine how many we're going to have, a traffic warden at each of these bus stops across the country. That will require 500
and we don't have enough human resources
so
for that.
If we have one national company, we can then have management in place that says to all the villagers, this is where we stop in your village. You need to be there at a certain time, right?
We do have smaller requests like bus stop sheds, especially as Ms. Sonia Singh said, one at Pone Yard. I believe a shed is needed there, please. Other persons are also speaking about leaky buses. I think we've all seen those pictures online where persons open umbrellas in buses.
No, it's
outrageous.
It is ridiculous, and this is precisely what we want. We want everybody voice your concern, share your pain that you've had on the in this system so that we can change it now.
I want to take a brief moment to highlight one of the points raised yesterday at the budget debate where you spoke to motorists, motorcycles in particular. We have a comment saying, and don't get me started on motorcycles, especially delivery drivers are being called out, but what are the plans in enforcing stricter penalties for motorcycles?
Yes, our ministry just put out a release a few days ago about motorcycles. Actually. And then we also have one on these dump trucks that are traveling. They don't have a proper tarp, and the stones keep falling out, breaking your windshield and all these things. I have had that experience before myself.
Me too.
But you see the motorcycles, a couple things. First of all, we get complaints like here in the city with 5, 7 motorcycles at a time at late hours of the night with these very loud and in racing around the city.
Yeah, the noise pollution.
Then of course the motorcycles with 3, 4 persons, little children that are being taken to school. So mothers and fathers or whoever are taking these kids, uncles or whoever they're sending them with, need to know that when you're stopped, it's not because we don't want you to take the child to school, because that's the complaint. Make a go because I have to carry the sleep picnic at school and get late. No, it's because you are putting that child in danger. Many of them don't even have a helmet, right? That's why we're stopping you. We're stopping you from potentially causing harm to your own child or to your nephew or your niece. That is why we're stopping you, and that is one of the settings that we've had in the past, right? Where again we're saying, oh, you try hurt the small man or the small woman. You always go to that. No, man. What we're trying to do is to put in place rules and regulations, enforce them that will protect all of us. This has nothing to do with big versus small or the other. It has to do with taking rational decisions on how to make our roads safe, protecting all of us on the roads each and every day. That is what it's about.
Last year was a very, very difficult year in terms of the number of motorcycle RTAs and the casualties as a result of it. And I think when you look at those figures from 2024, it should be alarming or cause for concern for any person who considers purchasing a motorcycle or commuting by motorcycle, because people use the carriageways with reckless abandon. Nobody cares about traffic rules or whatever. Everybody is racing to get to where they want to go.
You have motorcycles overtaking you on the right, on the walkways and on the sides. We remember we had a bus that overturned right here on the Philip Wilson Highway,
Yes.
with passengers inside
Catching fire.
A couple of them in the past couple of weeks that occurred. No, it's intolerable. We should not be entertaining that. And again, for us to change it, we all have to come together, raise our voices. I will do my part. I believe very, very strongly that the plan that we have in place in front of the operators is a fair plan. It's a plan that in fact takes into consideration not their financial interests, but also their welfare as operators, as their health, their general welfare. And of course, especially the concerns of the commuters that deserve a 2025 modern transportation system. That's what we're aiming to do.
All right. Well, Dr. Zabaneh, it has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you have a busy day ahead heading to Belmopan for the continuation of the budget debate.
Thank you.
We wish you all the best.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I can't leave without shouting out my people in the Dangriga constituency. Wonderful, beautiful people. A lot of great things continuing to happen there. We can come back, talk about the Commerce Bight Port that's up and running, a beautiful multi-purpose park that is being built as we speak, and just a number of exciting things happening in the Dangriga constituency. But it's because of the work of a lot of people, my executive, the mayor and his crew, and generally the citizens in Dangriga. And so with that I say thank you very much. Sareme, muchas gracias. God bless.
All right. We take another quick break, but stay with us because we have much more coming up. Here's what you can look forward to next. When we come back, Vega's distributor launches new household solutions.